Hey, good evening, everybody. I am here with Chris Todd, and we've seen so much news this week, especially here in the UK and worldwide, because it's such a big case, about Madeleine McCann and Christian Brookner. In fact, I was told that they have managed to charge Brueckner with something so that they can hold him longer. According to the BBC, he now faces an unrelated charge to the Madeleine McCann case because he was scheduled to be released in September. And, we had John Clark on, the author of the book on Christian B. We had Hazel Bean on, who was a survivor of Christian B. And, the things that Christian B got up to were absolutely monstrous. How much research have you done into the history of Christian Brookner? Let's start with that one again.
Sure. So I looked as much as I could, right? That's what I was saying. I went as far as I could. And I can't pull records in Germany, right? My PIs don't have access to that stuff. So it wasn't like I could find so many things that nobody else could find. So going off of the internet, sources in UK and Germany, people that kind of know the case very well, I started to deal with them. There were some contentious discussions also. It gets nasty. When I come into a case, whether I come in as Chris Todd or I come in as a different name, right, to protect myself too, I have to be really careful when I enter into the fray with all these people. They're highly emotional. And I'll tell you, the people have been difficult to deal with in Germany and UK. And I'm not saying that against any type of people. I'm just saying on this case, these people are triggered. Okay. But we'll get into that. And it's an interesting dynamic. But also what I do, as you know, with Chris Todd is I go by feel. I don't need to have tapes and footage and DNA and phone records. I tell a story, right? And if I feel, and I know we can place him in Praia de Luz at the exact time, and we can place him in other parts of Portugal right around that time also, a year or two leading up to that. I think you had one of the victims as a guest, right? I think recently. That's close, and that's within a couple years of 2007. So I feel through my journey over this about 8-month period, the spotlight's on Christian Brookner right now in my world. And as I stated before, maybe to reiterate, I'm here to try to keep pressure up to keep this guy in jail. This guy is Hannibal Lecter. This is Silence of the Lambs. This is UK's John Bonet. And obviously the German authorities are involved and they can play hero, but they're retracting things too. So the Walters guy was saying, we have evidence. He did it. And now they're trying to retract and say, well, he's getting out in September and we haven't charged him with anything yet. I have multiple sources in Germany right now and they're saying different things. Okay. And that's concerning me.
Yeah, so on the documentary that came out this week on Channel 4 here, the police searched this factory, which was really creepy. You had a filthy mattress, dozens of little girls swimming costumes, containers with drugs that they suspected was ether and stuff like that to knock people out. But under his dead dog, which was buried out there, they found a bag with memory sticks. Now, on those memory sticks, they're saying that they have evidence that has convinced the German police that he was responsible for the disappearance of Madeleine. But because they're building a case against him to possibly charge him with something like that, they can't let us know exactly what that evidence is. And they were trying to race against this clock in September whereby he could be released, but they might spring a charge on him by then to do with the disappearance of Madeleine. In the meantime, they have sprung a charge on him with doing something nasty to a prison guard. That's what they're using presently to try and extend his stay at the prison.
That's good. That's a good start.
Insulting a member of prison staff is the specific allegation. Yeah. So if they've got these memory sticks, Chris, that were found under the dead dog, and they're saying they are convinced they've seen something that makes them believe he was, responsible for the disappearance, what kind of a thing do you think could have seen on these memory sticks?
Well, and that's why we're getting mixed signals, because when I went down the rabbit hole with one of these sources in particular in Germany, they were very close to the case for years. This wasn't a fly-by-night thing for them. They knew the prosecutor. They knew the police. They knew the PR people in Germany that were dealing with that when Walters did the big interview. I think it was on 48 Hours. Okay. He's gone. There's somebody else now. But they were saying, oh, we don't have anything. So now they're saying they have something. And look, it could be strategic on their part where they don't want to shock everybody. And they know the McCanns are reading this stuff. Their lawyers are seeing it every second it comes out. So maybe this is strategic, but I don't really know. They said they don't have any video footage of Maddie at all. That's what they've been saying for the last 8 months to me. So do they? Maybe, possibly, and maybe they're holding an ace in the hole. But they're running out of time. It's coming up. Summer's here. He's supposed to get out in September. And they need to arrest him. They need to charge him with Maddie's disappearance.
Yeah, so the Daily Mail did an article on this, and just so I can show the viewers some of the disturbing photos that were found at this compound. There is a metal suitcase found in 2016, reportedly containing photos of girls. You can see a face blanked out there. We've got bottles and substances found inside a Jaguar matching the description of Brueckner's vehicle. And then these bathing suits for little girls. There were 75 costumes. Yeah. What do you make of that? That's just, like you said, it's out of a horror movie.
I mean, it's this is Hannibal Lecter with children. And obviously, he did have a charge against the 70-plus-year-old woman. That's why he's in jail today. That happened many years ago. There was another girl who was of the teenage years. So there's something that he filmed with her. So the ages range. But when I'm also here to talk about Renee Hasse and Inga Gerwicki. So these kids have never been found. One in 96, one in 2015, 2 German children. One was in Portugal, Renee. The other one was in Germany, Inga. We don't know how many, we'll say, bodies or unalivings this guy has actually done. They need to look at there should be tons of DNA on all the stuff you just showed, especially the swimming suits. Those all need to be tested for DNA, and they need to find exactly who those belong to. And they need to use familial DNA because they're not going to have these kids in the database. Feel me? They're not. So they're going to need to start pulling as much as they can from family members of felons, convicts, people in the area, whatever it is, somehow, some way. And I would love to offer my help to them. I don't know if they would do it in Germany. I doubt they would want me to help them in Germany. But, I didn't reach out to the McCanns or anything. I didn't reach out to the lawyers. I don't do that. I already know these people's heads are really twisted. They're upset and they think about it every day. I deal with families all the time. My thing is, and I appreciate you letting me talk here, is this is for Chris Todd to put his stamp and or to put a little push from my world against Christian Brookner. And these reporters at the Daily Mail that keep trying to silence me, and they're sending me nasty emails, and they're sending some nasty stuff to one of my other guys. And I will expose them at some point. I'm not going to say their names right